essentially what we're going to be talking about here is pulling in data from, a source. It might be a headline, it might even be static text on your page. The reason that you shouldn't use all capital letters in markup anyway. It's semantically incorrect to use all capitals in markup. That's something that not a lot of people understand. But essentially, when you write text in your markup, it should be written as if you were writing it in a book or something like that. It shouldn't be written in all capitals. You should use CSS to transform your from lowercase to uppercase, uppercase to lowercase, and also we're going to be looking at capitalizing the first letter of each word as well, which is extremely useful because for things like headers, titles, that might be useful to you. So let's go ahead and we're going to use an H1 as an example, so a header. So we use an H1 tag, and we'll go ahead and we'll place some contents in here. So I'm just going to write this is a title, okay? So we've got our header now. This is a title, or this is a header, either way. Let's go ahead and refresh, and we can see that we've got this. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, let's just say we were pulling this in from a database, for example. It might be a news feed that we're creating. We might have some text underneath it. Now we want to transform this to make it look a bit, stand out a bit. We want headers to stand out. Now the most common thing to do is capitalize transform this to an uppercase, every character, but we do have 3 different options for the text transform property. So let's just take a look at them. They're very basic, there's not much to them, but it is extremely useful and important that you use this as opposed to doing something like this is a title, okay? Let's just revert that. Okay, so inside our primary.css style sheet, which I've linked to this page, we're going to go ahead and we're going to transform this header. Okay, so I'm just going to select all H1 elements and we can transform them. So the property name is text hyphen transform, and we can give this a value of auto, which is by default. So auto will do absolutely nothing to our header. So you wouldn't really need to specify that anywhere unless you were reverting back. We've also got inherit, which will inherit from the previous so for example, if we had an H1 with text transform and we were making it uppercase, if we were saying H1 and something inside that, we would say inherit, but let's go ahead and forget that one for now. Okay, so the 3 that we're going to focus on is lowercase, uppercase, and capitalize. So first of all, let's go ahead and look at lowercase. Simple as that, just lowercase in there, no space, all in lowercase. When we refresh, you see that the text here has been transformed to lowercase. Let's go ahead and inspect this and see what we can see. Well, in our markup, it obviously still renders with a capital T here at the start of this sentence or the start of this title. And the reason for that is the markup hasn't been changed, but what we've done is we've used CSS to render it visually on the page. So, it still, looks like this here. And the important thing to note here is that let's say you were going to write an article or write a few articles on a different page, and you had a search engine index these news articles, and you had written the titles in all uppercase because that's how you wanted them to display on your page. Now that search engine is going to pick up these news posts or article posts or whatever it is as uppercase text. So you can imagine that when you're Googling for something and you see a result with all uppercase text, it's going to look a bit horrible, or vice versa, all lowercase text, it's not going to look great. So the problem here is that we shouldn't be using all uppercase, all lowercase in our titles. We should really just be using it as we want it to appear to web crawlers, and how it should appear in the markup, and then we can use CSS to style it. So that's just an important thing to bear in mind. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at uppercase. So obviously just instead of lower we have upper, and that will transform the text and all of it will be in uppercase. So again, quite useful if you had a nice font and it looked nice, bold and uppercase, then that would be a good thing to do. Again, the markup hasn't been changed, it's just as we wrote it in the markup, nothing's changed. But now we've got this uppercase transform applied. And the last one that we're going to look at, which is quite useful, perhaps less used, but is capitalize. So when we capitalize a sentence, or a sentence, essentially a group of words, each of the the first letter of every word is transformed to uppercase. So obviously, that doesn't look too nice, but it may be, it may be useful in some respect. But that's capitalized, so less used than the others, but still significant, where it would be required. So we've looked at the text transform property. We've looked at the uppercase, lowercase and capitalize text transforms, why you should use them and how they might be useful.